Well, and the fact that we have the expert along with me.
And we are live, guys.
Yay! It's the day we've all been waiting for. We are at Cape Coral, the big storm location in Cape Coral. This is Amy from the Run Eat Drink podcast, and I am joined by Kevin Long, brewer here at the Cape Coral location. We are right in front of where all the magic happens. Although there are locations in the Tampa and Clearwater area, we are so lucky to have a brewer with us. Kevin, thank you for taking time to talk with us on the Run Eat Drink podcast.
Absolutely, thanks for having me.
And let me tell you, we are so excited about this. We have earned our tulip glass. This is the Cat 5 release, and we have been here over the past, 10 weeks? For categories 1 through 5.
Well, 1 through 4.
Well, 1 through 4 and now the 5. Yes, I can count. It's okay. I've gone on a 19-mile run this morning, so this is the perfect way to celebrate. And also, is it not your 7th anniversary for Big Storm?
That's correct, yeah.
So happy anniversary, Big Storm. We're so happy you're here in Cape Coral and in the state of Florida, too. And we're so excited that we, as ranked amateurs, now have an expert to talk to us about all of these different Belgians. Can I ask you, why the Belgian style?
Well, the Belgian style is a very old and very tried traditional style of beer. Belgian beer encompasses traditions that come from all over Northern Europe, but it is a very wide and very varied style of beer, and it incorporates a lot of different traditions. However, the beers that are in front of you are trying to target a very narrow range of Belgian style beer. Belgian beer pulls from 3 different brewing traditions. You have the French from the Saison style beers, you have the English ale fermentations, and the German high quality ingredients, including the hops and the malt. So Belgium being kind of in this weird center spot between all these different brewing traditions, pulls them all together and puts these really, really wonderful beers together. But what we're trying to target specifically is the Abbey style of ale. Abbey style refers to brewing beers that were brewed in the Abbey. It is different from Trappist style beers. So you have different ranking levels. You have Trappist, which has to be brewed by monks in a monastery, and then you have an Abbey.
Trappist has to be brewed by monks.
Absolutely,
So
it's
we
a legal
haven't
definition.
ordained you to make
you are.
Trappist
I
beer.
am not.
Okay.
No. That almost happened, but no.
No.
The Trappist style has to be brewed by monks. It's a legal label that goes on the side of Trappist beers. If you buy, for example, Rochefort is a Trappist beer, and you can see the Trappist label on it. We are going for the Abbey style, which is beers brewed in the tradition of the Trappist, but not brewed by monks. So there are abbeys that have private companies that brew beer for them. It's very well known. It's not a trade secret. Nobody's trying to pull a fast one. But probably due to complex history in Europe, abbeys might have lost their breweries due to damage during the war, or just due to economic changes in Europe. So there are private breweries that have picked up a trade name like the name of an abbey. I believe Leffe is one of the ones that might have done this at some point, where they were picking up a name from an abbey that is either defunct or just no longer produces the beer. But yes, what we're trying to do here is imitate the styles that you would find within the abbey brewing tradition. These are beers like you would find brewed by monks.
And these
it's
are
not brewed by monks.
They're not brewed by monks.
We
so
wish it was, but
none of the brewers are monks, is
Right.
what we're saying.
Right.
But it's very different from an IPA.
Right.
In what way?
So IPAs are, for historical context, are of course coming from England. They are pale ales that were just a little bit more aggressively hopped. Sometimes meant for taking long voyages, sometimes people like hoppy beer.
Okay.
And English brewers would be brewing for local regions and for local taste. And so IPA has a complex and kind of a weird history, but but IPAs are aggressively hopped. They use typically a very clean, or at least American IPAs are using a clean yeast. The Belgian beers that you see in front of us are not aggressively hopped. They have very little in the way of hopping,
which is why we like them.
And they predominantly feature the yeast and the malt first. I would say yeast first, malt second.
Okay.
So consider your yeast as the predominant provider of flavor in these styles.
In the Belgian style.
Right.
Okay. So take us through this flight of beer, if you will.
Right. Absolutely.
Let's start with the Cat 1.
So the Cat 1 is our Belgian single.
Yes.
This is a style of beer that would be very commonly associated with some of the Abbey style private breweries that were making these sessionable table beers. It's very light. It's brewed with predominantly Pilsner malt. Pilsner style malt, which is this very light, grainy, very light colored beer. You get these grassy notes off of it as well.
Here. Our cameraman likes to try it as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to be in a podcast about beer,
we got to talk about it.
You got to drink it.
Yeah. Even if you're behind the camera.
these beers are pretty light, as you can tell. They are almost as if you brewed a Pilsner with Belgian yeast as opposed to normal lager yeast. So it's very light, very balanced. It's got a nice light straw color.
Yeah.
And it's also one thing interesting to note is that the 1, the 2, and the 4 are brewed with the same yeast.
The 1, the 2, and the 4.
The 4, correct.
Are brewed with the same yeast, but the 3 and the 5 are totally separate?
The 3 and the 5 use the same Belgian yeast, but 5 does something a little bit funny near the end, and I'll talk about that when we get to the 5.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get okay, I'm rushing him, I'm sorry.
No, I want to tease it so that they're excited for it. So,
yes, because everybody should have this entire flight, but we're getting ahead of ourselves, right? Let's talk about, what about the category 2, which is our cameraman's personal favorite?
The category 2, so brewed with the same yeast. The big difference between the category 1 and the 2, the color is consequential to what is important about it is the change in malt.
It's so dark.
Yeah, so we use dark Belgian malts, and we also use a slight touch of rye and oat.
Right.
Yeah, so it gives it a nice mouthfeel from the oats. You also get some spicy and bready and toasty flavors from the rye, and lots of dark caramel malt and dark roasted malt in order to get that nice, rich, dark color.
Yeah, because it's darker than any other one in the flight.
And it's hard. The other thing is, it's hard to talk about the double without also talking about the triple at the same time. They are in a very similar category.
Because they're so different in color, though.
Right, but they are. It's important to talk about the two. Yeah, it's important to talk about the two at the same time.
Okay.
Reason being is that these two styles are the oldest styles and the most traditional styles.
Most traditional.
Yeah, the categories, the category 1 and the 4, the single and the quadruple are very recent styles. The double and the triple are the oldest and the most traditional. So in Belgium, these are the two styles you're going to find at a Trappist or Abbey style brewery. The Belgian double is the most common and the most easy to find there in Belgium. The triple is usually the sort of mid-range specialty beer. And the funny thing about the triple, we'll go into more detail about the triple itself.
Okay.
But the funny thing about the triple is that it was considered as more of an indulgence for the beer. So they usually had really funny names that reference something sinful.
Really?
So a lot of triples are named. There's a triple called Lucifer and one Duvel, for example, devil. So these are indulgent beers. The Belgian double is the common beer, the one that you would normally be drinking. I've also heard something about the Belgian single being what's called the perfectory beer, which is the beer that was portioned off to the monks during Lent. So they couldn't, of course, were fasting during Lent. Couldn't eat food during normal days. So this is what you would drink to kind of keep you alive.
And it's the lowest in the ABV.
It's the lowest in ABV. But I've also heard the same thing about the double. Is that the double is the standard beer. It was sold, of course, to fund the abbey, but also as the one that the monks would have had a ration of during the day to help the pains of fasting.
But not the 3.
Not the 3.
Not the 3.
Not the 3. In fact, if they might not have been allowed to drink it at all.
But this one has clove, bubblegum, and spice flavors.
Right. So the category 3 is, and the category 2 work on the Belgian system of gravity, of Plato. It's a measurement of original sugar. So as you're fermenting, you're taking a very sugary liquid, consuming the sugar, turning it into CO2 and ethanol. So that's reducing your sugar content. The category 2 and category 3 very commonly could have used the same original gravity.
Let me ask you, we have a viewer, Kristen Sinaviva Iabine, is asking bubblegum. Now, when I taste these, I tend to call it banana.
Yes.
Is that kind of the same flavor that you're talking about?
So what you're looking at is
sweetness.
what you're looking at is a chemical called isoamyl acetate, which is pretty common in a lot of beers.
I feel like we just crossed into Breaking Bad territory.
I mean, oh my gosh.
So that's the chemical that they use in a lot of banana flavored candies. In order to get that flavor, but it's banana flavored in the sense that it's referring to a variety of banana that we don't find in a grocery store anymore. We have the Cavendish banana now, but it's an older style that doesn't taste like that anymore. So some people don't even associate it with banana. It tastes more like bubblegum to people.
Okay.
But it can become bubblegummy. It can become banana.
The more you know.
No, yes.
Okay.
Belgian yeast and,
Yes.
and wheat beer yeast will also, Hefe yeast will do the same thing, depending on.
That's why in some Hefeweizens you get that flavor.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the colder the fermentation, sometimes you get a little bit more bubblegum. Warmer fermentations, you get more spice and clove. Can happen in Belgian beer too. The Belgian beer yeast can sometimes react in a very similar way. Hotter fermentations, you get some weirder flavors, some spicier flavors.
So like these are warmer or no?
I think the first 2 were fermented a little bit colder. This one was fermented fairly warm.
This,
if I remember correctly.
The category 4?
Yes.
Yes. And speaking of category 4, yeah, it says chocolate, raisin, and toffee flavors.
Yes.
Yeah?
So that's comes from a very intense amount of malt dosing. And these are very rich and concentrated beers.
Mm-hmm.
These are much more rare than the double and the triple.
Oh.
The other thing, just really quick, that I wanted to get to with the double and the triple.
Oh, yeah.
So the original sugar content, this is working on Belgian Plato. And Belgian beers were taxed based on the original sugar content, not on the alcohol content.
They're taxed on the sugar, not on the alcohol content.
Exactly.
Somebody
it's
messed
really
up.
Weird.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so
Different.
you can have the double and the triple is referring to that original Plato.
Uh-huh.
And so you can have a double and triple at the same alcohol content, but be taxed differently because their starting gravity was different. Triples tend to be very dry, and so you can have the same amount of sugar, but it depends on how fermentable your sugar is.
Oh.
So the more fermentable it is, the drier and the more alcoholic it will become. So the triple is meant to be much drier and rely more on the spicy bubblegum and clove flavors that you're getting
Interesting.
to bring out that rich, complex flavor.
Okay. So then this one tastes boozier to me.
Yes.
The Cat 4 tastes boozier to me.
Yeah.
Now, why is that?
So the booziness, of course, is coming directly from the alcohol. So this one is meant to start at a really high original gravity and at a very low final gravity and get a lot of fermentable sugar out of it. So it can be both very rich and fairly boozy at the same time.
And yet its color is lighter than the Cat 2, it seems to me.
Right. The Cat 2, they're technically 2 different styles, but they're very related.
Mm-hmm.
The Belgian dark strong ales they say dark strong, but what they mean is kind of a copper or dark copper kind of a caramel color to it. Yeah.
Darker than the Cat 1.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, all of them are darker than this,
Right.
I think.
And and we did kind of choose the color is kind of consequential to the way that it's being processed. The color actually, unlike a lot of other styles in brewing, is not quite as important as the flavors that you're getting off of it. So you can have a double that's actually pretty light, and you can have a double and a triple that have the same color. But we opted to go with alternating colors, so light, dark, and ended up with light again.
So that was purposeful.
That was
intentional,
because we were like, oh, it's darker, then it's lighter, then it's darker, and then this is kind of like a golden color.
So these are the last two, the Category 4 and the 5 are Belgian Strong Ales. The Category 4 is a Belgian Dark Strong, and the Category 5 is a Belgian Golden Strong Ale.
This is a Belgian Golden Strong Ale.
Yes.
So and it says honey, vanilla, and Chardonnay.
Yes. So this is the creme de la creme beer. This is the ultimate beer that we're working up to.
Because I'm gonna tell you, I just think it's approaching a mead to me.
Exactly. That's exactly the thoughts I had this morning.
Really?
It's vinous and honey-like.
Yeah.
Very thick and viscous.
Yeah. And
but no honey in the brewing.
There's no honey in the brew. Not at all.
But what role does the Chardonnay play?
So it goes through an interesting fermentation technique. So all of these, the first 4 beers go through standard fermentation in stainless fermenters. The 5th beer, the Category 5, when we brew the wort first goes into a stainless fermenter where the Belgian yeast and champagne yeast are added. So it is a co-fermentation between Belgian yeast and champagne yeast. We let it sit for about 24 to 48 hours. What we're trying to do is get the yeast active and bubbling, so that the yeast is mixed and is homogeneous throughout the volume. And so once it's going, we then transfer it into the French Chardonnay oak barrels for it to continue fermentation. So the majority of the fermentation happens in the oak barrel, not in the stainless. The stainless is just used as a mixing tank, an initial mixing tank, and then it's moved into the barrel. And the cool thing about the Category 5 is we could do everything exactly the same way as the previous year, but it's going to come out different, mostly because of the changes in the wood and also because it's fermented at room temperature. So the facility that it's fermented in is air conditioned. It's kept around 72 degrees.
Okay.
But
I was going to say weather changes things when something is aged in a barrel, right?
Exactly. And now it's a conditioned building, so it's not going to go through really wide, varied ranges. But if, for example, if you have a power outage, if you have a couple hurricanes come through, that's going to change the flavor. If you switch it from a warmer side of the brewery to a colder side, because barrels get moved around because of just for needs of production needs for whatever reason.
When you're rearranging things and then you're shipping things off.
We try not to move them too much, but it's like they're like sleeping children. You don't want to joust them around too much. But the conditions that it's in the fermentation, we let it just ferment as is, and the yeast also produce heat during fermentation, so it's going to warm up the barrel as well. So it's subject to the conditions in the brewery, as opposed to stainless fermented beer, where we're very actively controlling the temperature and the conditions inside the tank.
So you just kind of let this
do
what it's going to do
exactly.
in terms of flavor.
So I was going to ask, I know with some barrel-aged beers, like they'll age them in whiskey barrels.
Right.
They'll actually pick up 1 or 2% ABV just from the aging process.
Right. So
is it picking up anything from the barrel other than flavor and color?
I can answer in this respect because I wasn't there when we put it in the barrel. But what I can say about that is that if there was a residual wine, it's light wine in the barrel. It was probably drained, but it will pick up roughly about a liter of Chardonnay wine from the barrel if it was still wet, if it was just fresh, if it was freshly dumped. However, these are, of course, are coming from the French Chardonnay region. The barrels are probably fairly dry by the time they get to the United States. There probably isn't a whole lot of actual wine. You are right that if you have a freshly dumped whiskey barrel, you will pick up some alcohol. But wine,
different.
Yeah, wine is a little different, and wine is pretty close to the same alcohol content. So you're probably not going to see a whole lot of a very significant change in alcohol. Yeah.
Well, can I ask a personal question?
Absolutely.
Which one is your favorite?
My favorite.
Or is it like asking which one of your children is your favorite? I don't know.
It's definitely based on my mood.
Is it?
Yeah, my go-to is definitely the single at the moment. I really love the single. It's an easy drink. It's hot down here, so like I just want something easy, and I like the Belgian character without getting the boozy heaviness of the rest of the styles. I've always generally really preferred the double, but as the Cat 4 kind of develops in the keg, it's starting to grow on me.
Yeah.
The triple is really good. It's never failed, and the 5 is just something really just amazing. Like it's a different experience.
I love that 5.
But I only really like to have a thimble full because it will crash your palate.
That's a sippable.
It's sippable, whereas the Cat 1.
Yeah.
The Cat 1 would be like, I don't know if you call it sessionable because it's in the weather that we have and the humidity of the summer, it is...
Sessionable is absolutely a good word to use, yeah.
It would be great, but then this, not so much.
The 5 is like, it's like a cordial. It's something you would have after a big meal, you know?
Yeah.
Something to kind of help you digest.
Almost
way to
like
describe it.
a dessert, yeah.
It's very warming, so like I take a sip and mull around on it for a while and let it warm up and then come back to it again and let it develop in the glass.
Do you notice anything different in the flavors because as they sit at the table if you're having a flight and the temperatures change?
Yeah, the single is probably not going to pick up as much of a difference. It's going to stay pretty clean.
Okay.
But the beers that have a more complex malt profile, bigger in alcohol, you're going to get more of the complex flavors that the yeast produce during fermentation. So as it warms up, those flavors are volatile. Will come out and hit you in the nose. And, you're going to get more of it out of there. Yeah.
So it's different.
So if you smell more, you're going to taste more. Definitely.
Yeah, for sure. So they have connections to Europe in terms of, like, you talked about the monks, you talked about all those different connections, but it also has connection to Florida because they're named category 1 through 5.
Right.
What made you all? What was your inspiration there in saying, "Hey, we want to do a category series"?
Right. Well, I mean, our theme across the brewery has always been meteorology. So, and we wanted, because hurricanes are pretty big and intense, and we
Big
wanted
storms.
to find something that's
Know that, right?
Yeah. So we wanted to find something that is going to match the intensity and drive of a big storm out in the Gulf or out in the Atlantic. And we felt like the pretty varied and rich tradition of Belgian beer is a great way to represent that.
You know, there's a passion for that. It's all of them have different character and they're amazing. Now, can everybody across the Tampa, Clearwater area and here in Cape Coral, can they get these just in the tap room today, or?
The ones that are on tap, they're all on tap at the moment. The Category 5 is the only one in bottle bombers that you can take to go.
Okay.
So we have our vintage 2018 Cat 5 from last year. It's unfiltered, so you have a little bit of the dregs at the bottom of the bottle, which helps it cellar quite pretty well. So it's already a year old. If you want to take it up to 3 years, you are more than welcome to do that. It will be excellent if you do that.
It'll be a great comparison between this year and last year, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we also have the Cat 5 and the current year Cat 5 in bombers available to sell. If you purchase the vintage Cat 5, you will get $7 off of our 7-Year Storm, which is our anniversary beer that we
I was going to ask you, can you talk a little bit about 7-Year Storm?
Really?
7-Year Storm, yeah. It's a imperial rye ale. It doesn't follow any particular style, but it is, I believe, aged in Sagamore rye barrels. It's got some, it's got some really great bourbon notes to it, some rye whiskey. It's got some spiciness from the rye, and it's also got a little bit of a candied top end. It's really interesting, a little difficult to explain without having
like
someone
sweetness,
try it.
like
Yeah,
a
it's got a
dessert.
little top end sweetness. It's really nice. Yeah, I believe it's in the 10.7 or so range in alcohol.
Oh, 10.7 like ABV.
And also another bomber that's really good to cellar if you want. Yeah.
So you have your 7-year anniversary.
Yes.
You have last year's Cat 5 in a bomber,
Right.
and you have this year's Cat 5 in a bomber.
Correct.
And then the rest of it is on tap in
It's
your
on
tap
tap.
room.
Yes.
So for a limited time, once it's gone
Once
until
it's gone, it's gone until next year. Yeah.
And next year's flavors could be very different.
Right. Yeah, I think the Cat 1 through Cat 4 will generally be, we've kind of nailed down what we really like out of these beers. The Cat 4 might go through a little bit of change. When you get into higher alcohol stuff, it's always going to be a little bit more of you play it by ear, or play it by taste. But the Cat 5 is very subject for environmental conditions, but the Cat 1 through 4 are fairly locked in now, I think, as far as what we really want.
So for people who are watching the podcast, watching the live broadcast here,
Or listening later when we repost this.
or listening later when we repost as audio,
Right.
they can come to the Cape Coral Tap Room.
Yes.
They can come to Clearwater. They can come to it's 3 locations.
Yeah, we have Clearwater, which is our newest one where we are at now. We have the 50,000 square foot facility, which is our Pinellas location. That's where all of our distributed beer comes from. And the Belgian series, as well as all of our sour beers, come from the Pasco location, which is our original location. So that's where it all started 7 years ago.
And you distribute throughout the state of Florida, or?
We currently distribute through most of Florida. I think Panhandle, if I remember correctly, is probably the least, the more sparsely distributed. But yeah, we do go through most of Florida, and we also are in Ohio.
Ohio?
I think that's it.
Yay, our Ohio friends!
Yeah.
Yay! I hope that you will be in all of 50 states.
Yes.
Because
So do we.
I mean, these are all, and we will post links to Big Storm's Facebook page, to the website, because you all have great descriptions and great food pairings for all of your different flavored beers.
Right.
All of yours. So, I mean, we will link to all of that. And of course, you're on Instagram, Twitter, all of that we'll link back to. But, Kevin, the amount of information, the wealth of knowledge that you have brought to our audience and to us as amateur beer drinkers, we can't thank you enough.
Absolutely.
For taking the time. I know that it is a big anniversary for you and for the brewery. I have to say, cheers to you, Kevin, and
Cheers.
to Big Storm. Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
And stay tuned. We'll see you soon. We have some beer to drink.